Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan battle video. In this video we are going to be taking on the legendary Goku GT edition, or the Fighting Legend Goku GT edition event, and we're going to be completing the Sworn Enemies challenge. So obviously Sworn Enemies is a pretty strong category, I think, across the board. It's not really something you should be struggling with massively in terms of units. There's plenty of great selection. You've got all the Freezers, all the Majin Boos, all the Cells. You've got plenty of solid choices. So I think it's quite a wide category. I think it's got a lot of versatility to it. And I think overall a lot of players shouldn't struggle too badly with their choices or with their team builds. I think, like, obviously preferably you want to run the full power Frieza. I think he's definitely the best lead in terms of categories, but you can kind of make do with a lot of other ones. Power Absorption's a great one because you've got a lot of Majin Buu options and Cell options. You could always go for something like Inhuman Deeds is a pretty solid option as well. So you got a decent selection that you can kind of roll with, and I think for the most part you shouldn't really have too many issues. I think you'll be able to make do or make a plan with whatever options there are here. So yeah, for me, I think biggest issue that I think people are gonna have, at least in terms of like this event, is just realistically which units you're going to bring. But yeah, I don't know. For the most part, I think everything's more than fine, and the category is pretty straightforward and easy. In terms of everything else, in terms of my team build, I went to just use the Extreme Lead Tech Transforming Frieza. I went to use them just to show you guys that you don't even need to use a full leader skill to take on this event, and that you should be fine. You can pretty much run this event with reduced skills, especially if you bring along a friend. Full Power Frieza. Full Power Frieza just does so much damage throughout this event due to his passive. But we're going to talk about that now when we talk about the team build. So obviously on the one rotation we've got the Tech Transforming Frieza. Obviously after his EZA he's a pretty solid unit, I want to say. He's got a really solid options. He stacks defense up until his final form. He heals us every turn, which is great as well. He also has a pretty decent link set with the Full Power Frieza. Not an insane one, but a pretty decent link set across the board. Really quite nice actually. Then he also does a lot of decent damage. The important thing if you're using Tech Transforming Frieza is that you want to make sure that he gets his super attack every single turn. So you want to make sure that he gets his super attack every single turn that he's out, because you need him to stack that defense. He can struggle in the interphase otherwise. Then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to obviously have good old Full Power Frieza. Now the only important thing to take note with Full Power Frieza is that you want to make sure he gets his 18 key. If he doesn't get his 18 key, his defense will eventually become quite low as his extra additional 100% boost wears off. So that's definitely something you need to be aware of. You have to make sure that he gets his 18 key. As long as he gets his 18 key, you'll have a decent time. You should be able to have a pretty solid kind of situation there. He'll have a high enough defense, and he does huge damage, so be very aware of that when you are doing things. Be very aware that he does really big damage with his crits. So if you are needing to obviously get the Tech Frieza to stack, or get an additional super off or something like that, you definitely are going to want to make sure that occurs. Then in terms of the other rotation, we've got the physical LR Majin Buu, or the Buu Tanks, as people obviously know him as. Obviously a great unit. He does do a lot. He brings a lot to the table. A really strong unit, great stats, stacks defense. Again, very important to get his 18 key. He stacks defense on his 18 key, so if you don't have his 18 key, you're not going to have a very good time with it. You need to make sure that you get his 18 key, otherwise his defense is not going to be high. He needs to have that to stack up. So 18 key for him, 18 key for AGL for Power Frieza, and then alongside him we have the Tech Transforming Boo, obviously the Artificial Life Forms lead, and a pretty strong unit. Tech Transforming Boo, he is, a lot of people give him flack, but once you get to turn 7, he basically is pretty strong. He, for the most part, does a lot of good work. He has that 50% damage reduction once he becomes Super Boo, and once you get him to stack his defense a couple times, he'll be fine. He will take a little bit of damage here, just because we do have, unfortunately, the lower leader skill, the 130% extreme class lead. So that is a little bit of a hindrance to him, but for the most part he should be more than fine. And he'll obviously do decent damage if we get Rainbow Orbs, but he's a pretty solid unit. Him and Majin Buu also provide a little bit of healing, which is always helpful. So yeah, across the board, just pretty decent. The healing between them and Frieza keeps us pretty topped up, so we are very lucky in that regard. But yeah, in terms of everything else, obviously the floating units. So we have the Int Final Form Frieza, the free-to-play one. Obviously a unit that's very good in this oddly specific situation. He basically guards against all types, against Goku family units, provides support, and then has like 50%, 60% damage reduction, I think, when he is guarding. So in this situation here, he is pretty solid. He's actually great defensively. He provides support to the rotation, and yeah, he's a pretty fun unit to utilize. Generally speaking, I think he's pretty good to use. He's great in that he doesn't require any build-up whatsoever, and he can just slot in around and be used to tank up multiple attacks if need be, or just provide support to the whole rotation. Then the other two units that we have, obviously we've got Demon King Piccolo, a pretty solid unit. Once he transforms, he has a flat 60% damage reduction, which is helpful. We do obviously want to keep up his damage reduction, so remember to get 7 orbs with him after 7 more turns have expired. And then beyond that we also have the Int Golden Frieza. Now Int Golden Frieza does have some crit chance against Goku enemies, so units that have Goku in the name, which means he can do a little bit of damage, but his main rotation here, or his main incentive here, is just to be a bit of a kind of all-round jack of all trades. He's going to stack defense to a decent point. He has int typing, which means he's favorable in the final phase against the Tech Goku. And just in general, he's pretty solid across the board. Obviously, there are a couple of phases you want to watch out for. So the physical SS3 Goku phase isn't too much of an issue. The monkey phase, this strength monkey phase, is a little bit of a problem, just due to the fact that obviously the strength monkey is going to cause our Boo a bit of issues. So you do want to try and obviously get through this phase without a big hindrance. So the strength monkey phase is a little bit of a concern. For the most part, you should be fine. Again, Frieza's immense damage pretty much eliminates most of these phases. Like Frieza's going to be chunking down half of a boss's health, like pretty much in every single turn that he's in, which is always something that's pretty good across the board, and always something that's pretty decent, I think. So like across the board for the most part, I think you should be fine. Frieza will do a decent crack of damage, obviously like being able to pretty much solo eliminate phases like you just saw there, and for the most part the rest of the team will be fine as well. You also have some pretty decent type matchups. We don't have a lot of type weakness in the final phase except for the AGL Frieza, but we're going to use some Whis on that. And then also obviously in the end phase we only really have the tech transforming Frieza, who is he's generally okay as long as you've been getting his defense stacks up. He can be pretty solid across the board if you get his defensive stacks up. The tech Super Buu will be more than fine. He's not going to have too many issues. 30k isn't really that bad in terms of normals. And yeah, just across the board, the team runs through very, very fine. I genuinely didn't have that many issues with the team in any way, shape or form. Only real thing was Frieza's defense. Again, like I said, you want to try and get 18 keys. Getting 18 keys is very, very important. You can see here, I do use an item just to heal up, get some additional defense. But Frieza, he just carries the run with his immense damage. It's very much just Frieza showing his huge damage across the board. You're gonna see him, fire off multiple super attacks. Remember, it's very important to have Frieza, get hit before he fires a super attack. It's going to enable him to fire off 2 or 3 super attacks, and he's just gonna do huge damage with all of them. You can see there he takes away like pretty much 2 whole bars. He follows up with another super attack, which will take away pretty much another 2 whole bars, and then he takes a 3rd super attack, which takes away another 2 whole bars. So he's essentially finished the Int Goku phase before it's even really begun. So yeah, that's really where Frieza's big it's why the Sworn Enemies team challenge is really not that bad, because even just taking one friend Frieza puts you in such a good situation damage wise. Like, you have such huge damage that it's very unlikely the boss is going to be able to keep up with it, and most of the other units are defensively sound enough that you're not running a huge risk taking on this stage with Frieza. So yeah, pretty much for the most part, I found it to be very, very chilled. Obviously, if you're looking at things you could change, I think you could obviously switch in Kid Buu. You could switch in Kid Buu instead of Tech Buu. The Strength Kid Buu would do great damage here. You could run double full power Frieza leads. You could use AGL Cell, Int Cell, Physical Cell would also be a lot of fun. You can use any combination of those units really. They're all going to be fine, and they're all going to be more than fine in this event. It's just going to depend on what you want to run, and what you feel like running, what's good for you, what's working for your box. And yeah, just across the board you shouldn't really have as big an issue as I think you will. So for me, I think everything ran smoothly, and I was honestly pretty happy with the team's performance. Like I said, you use a Whis just so that you can secure up against this phase. Frieza is just going to do huge damage. You can see here, he's chunking down Goku, 1.5 bars, another 1.5 bars with his follow-up attack. You're going to have his active skill. You're just going to have so much to bring to the table. So much damage. It's just, he's going to do huge damage, and it's just going to be great. At this point, we're also going to switch in the Int Frieza, just because of his tanking ability, and the fact that he's, going to provide very nice foil for the AGL Frieza. He actually has a lot of great linkage with him, and obviously provides that key support as well. The Tech one, we're just going to move off the rotation. Not that he wouldn't be any good in this situation, it's just that I like using the Int one to soak up damage, especially if there's multiple attacks from the AGL Goku. But yeah, at this point the whole team is running more than fine. We've already taken out half of Goku's health with just one set of the Frieza rotation. So realistically speaking, there's really not too much else for us to kind of focus on. At this point, Buu is hitting pretty hard because he's been stacking attack and defense. The Tech Buu will be fine here. His worst period is over against the Int Buu. He won't die at any point, and he tanks really well. And then of course this Int Frieza even is in a good situation because he has high defense, and his crits are also going to come in handy. Like I said, his crits will also help out. So yeah, at the end of the day, pretty good. Like, as you can see, Goku's already below the half health threshold, so we're already sitting in a very, very solid spot. At this point, we're not really in any situation where we're at risk, I want to say. And yeah, for the most part, we should be more than fine. Obviously, we don't have items, so there is a risk here. Frieza definitely would take a hell of a lot of damage from a super attack. That is the absolute worst case scenario that could happen here, but it's worth it to get his extra damage. It's just going to be huge. And like I said, he's pretty much could solo finish this if he gets the follow-up super attacks, but you know, he just does huge damage. It's his massive output that really helps out with this run and makes it really trivial. Like I said, you don't need to even run him as the lead, just using him is more than fine. So yeah, but that's it. Everything is all really good. Team ran perfectly smooth. Everything ran pretty well. If you don't have full power Frieza or you don't have the ability to run him, your next best bet is probably AGL Cell with an Androids team, or a Cell form team I should say, and a power absorption team would also be pretty good. Otherwise, try run a Martian power team. But yeah, all pretty straightforward, honestly speaking. So if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you have any queries, leave a comment. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one. So until then, take care and bye.